So this is part 2 on my basic crochet stitches tutorial. So in the previous one I talked about doing a chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, treble, and then double treble. So this tutorial I'm going to show how you would use those stitches if you're working row by row where you need to substitute chains for those stitches. So I'll explain as I go. So as before, I've got my chain of 5. So I'm just going to go along and do a single crochet in each one. So we missed the first one because, as I said, a chain acts as a single crochet. So we're just going to go along and do single crochets in all of these. So that's our row 1 done. So then we're going to turn our work and then we're going to do single crochets in each of these. So that's our, so we did our chain and then we did our row 1 and then our row 2. So you can see that single crochets are sort of quite short, but quite tight. So to keep going, make sure you don't forget this one if you're doing rows of single crochet. So that's single crochet. Next, I'm going to demonstrate doing rows with half double crochet. So far I've done 4 chains, but I'm actually going to do 6 this time because if you're substituting chains for a half double crochet, 2 is equivalent of a half double crochet. So now I'm going to go and do half double crochets in the rest of these. So as I said in the previous tutorial, yarn over and then in, and then once I've got 3, pull through. So yarn over, in, pull through, and then we'll do that all the way to the end. So now we're at the end of that row. So we've done 2 chains and then 4 half double crochets. And then to work back, we need to turn our work. Now, if we were just to do a half double crochet into this spot here, it would make our work a little bit wonky. So what we want to do is we want to do 2 chains and that acts as a half double crochet. And then we want to continue in the rest of these. So yarn over, in, pull through all 3. So great, and turn our work, and then we'd keep going. So chain 2, then making sure we don't miss that first one. Great, so that's half double crochet. So now I'm going to demonstrate double crochet. So for double crochet, as I said, 3 chains represent a double crochet. So if we have 1, 2, 3, that acts as our first double crochet. So we want to go then into this one here. So the 4th one from our hook. So double crochet, yarn over, in, got 3, pull through 2, pull through 2. So yarn over, in, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then once again keep going all the way to the end. So now we're at the ends, we flip our work. And once again, if we were to just do a double crochet in there, it's going to make it all wonky. So what we want to do is we want to start with 3 chains to act as our first double crochet. And then we want to go into that spot there. So once again, turn our work. And then continue. So when I first started crocheting, I used to, so say this is, you know, I'm about to start my next row. I used to go into these spots here and there's no necessarily right or wrong way to do it. But now I prefer to actually go into just the 2 top loops. So if you see here, yeah, I used to go into here, but now I actually prefer the look of it if I go there. It just keeps the stitch a little bit more tight, I suppose. So continuing, we just continue with doing our double crochets. So now we're going to do trebles. So 4 chains represent 1 treble crochet. So we want to actually then miss the first 4. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we want to start into this one if we're doing rows of treble crochet. So yarn over twice, and then we want to go in, and then do our treble, and then once again yarn over twice, so treble crochet is a really long stitch, so if you're using it, something will work up quite quickly, okay, but it'll be quite sort of spaced out. So there we go, we've got our trebles, one more. Oh. Great. So then we turn our work. Now, as I said, 4 chains represents a treble crochet. So before we start going, we want to do 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we want to continue doing our trebles. So at the end, turn 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're going to do double treble. So double treble's represented by 5 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to do our first double treble into this spot here. So yarn over 3 times and then into that spot, and then pull up, then just over and then through 2, over, through 2. Then once again, yarn over 3 times and then into this spot here, and then do that all the way to the end. Now we have our first row, so turn, and then we want to do 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we want to continue. There we have our 5 different ones. So we've got our single crochet, half double crochet, treble, and double treble. In terms of when to use what stitch, well, obviously if you're following a pattern, like follow that. But if you're just like freehanding stuff, if you're making like clothes or something like that, you'd want to go a single crochet or a half double crochet just so it's quite tight. But you know, this is quite sort of loose. This is your double treble. But if you were doing like, you know, a cardigan or something like that, that's also fine. And like I said, these bigger stitches obviously work up a lot quicker, but they've got gaps in them. And to make, you know, something bigger again, you could use thicker yarn or like a thicker crochet hook. So yeah, that's another little tutorial I've made. Let me know if there's anything else that you would be interested in seeing me make.